Hey guys, something that we are excited to tell you about is a company that is taking wine to the next level. If you've been at a restaurant or grocery store trying to pick out a bottle of wine but had no idea where to start, like me, or you're just looking for a unique event for your friends, family, or coworkers, In Good Taste is a new type of winery that can help you do both. Their mini wine bottle tasting flights help people with varying degrees of wine knowledge learn more about wine. In Good Taste provides tasting flights and complimentary virtual tasting over Zoom. The tastings create a safe space for novices and pros to ask questions about the wine, the regions, food pairings, etc. Unlike the traditional lecturing at most wineries, In Good Taste provides a fun event with trivia and quirky food pairings like which wine pairs best with Crunchwrap Supremes. Each mini bottle is one glass of wine, so you're getting 2 full bottles of wine, but in a variety for just $65. This lets you learn more while committing to less.
So this Sunday is Mother's Day. This is a really big day that the three of us typically wait to the last minute to actually
Last second.
to actually make sure we show our appreciation, but the appreciation is real for the mothers out there, our own mothers and our wives that are mothers. So we had this idea that instead of us just saying how thankful we are for everything that they do, how hard their job is, that we could never do it, we want to give you guys the opportunity to get to know them and hear from them on what it's like being a mother these days. And I really hope you enjoy getting to know Tiffany and Tiffany. Unfortunately, Whitney, Ben's wife, was not able to make it, which I really wish wish she was able to, man, because her perspective is so different than Tiffany and Tiffany, and I think Tiffany and Tiffany could have learned a lot from Whitney, pretty much is what but
we'll let them do another one.
Yeah. But today's episode is with Tiffany Woodson and Tiffany Klutz as they talk through motherhood, currently their experiences, being a spouse. I hope you guys really enjoy it. I know we did, just hearing it. Yeah. And again, I want to reinforce how grateful we are for those women.
Yeah, and they mean so much. And I wish Whit was on the show, but evidently she couldn't make it. But when you talk about these two and their dynamic, as far as the Tiffany's concerned, they're really good friends. Mm-hmm. They feed off of one another.
But they're so different, too.
They're so different. My wife she's a business owner. She's, professional, and she's working every day and trying to be a mother at the same time. And Tiffany Klutz is a go-getter. Not only is she has an entrepreneur spirit, she carried your ass.
That's 100%.
All those years, and has 4 kids to deal with at the same time. So it's, 2 different dynamics, but at the same time, they're just 2 beautiful people that would give you anything off their back, and they do it every day.
Yeah, well, you talk about their personalities are different. Their routes to being mothers are different.
Yeah.
And what you're going to find out in this episode is it wasn't always easy, the path to motherhood. And their perspectives were different on their thoughts of becoming a mother. So whether you're a mom and you're listening to this, or you're a guy out there and you have a wife or a mother, like, anybody can enjoy this episode. And I thought it was really cool to listen to their perspective and get their insights. So we hope you guys enjoy it. Happy Mother's Day to all you moms out there. We love you. You guys are awesome. Enjoy the episode.
We are so excited to be here today to get to talk about our journeys of motherhood, and our lives are very different in both of those journeys. And I am Tyler's Tiffany.
I'm Darren's Tiffany. But I think we have to actually clarify that. So there's a conundrum in our lives. It's the Tiffanys, and it's a constant kind of comedy at this point between the two of us. I would definitely say it's comedic. Like we actually get like a kick out of it, but everybody thinks we're the same person, and we kind of are. I mean, technically, we're both Italian, we're both brunette, we're both from Northern California.
We're both Tiffany.
I think that's the most confusing. Obviously, our husbands both played football. So everybody thinks we're the same person. So when we go to events, they're like, "Oh, I loved seeing your son and Darren together," or they're like, "Oh my gosh, what's it like to be a mom of 4 kids?" And at this point now, we're just kind of like rolling with it.
We used to correct it. I feel like we used to be like, well, I'm actually Tyler's Tiffany. And now it's almost just like, sure, I'll be Darren's Tiffany today. You're Tyler's Tiffany. Like, because sometimes you could even clarify it and they look at you like, I'm so confused. And then it's not even worth getting in. So now we go with it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's, you know.
We wanted to introduce ourselves so that hopefully you guys could tell our voices apart because we kind of even sound the same, I think. But
I would love to sound like you versus sounding like me. But
I want to live in the life of Tiff for the day. Tiffany Klutz, that is.
So, Tiffany, I know that your journey has been not as easy maybe as some people's. And I think that both of ours is so different. And I think that whatever you're comfortable sharing, if you want to kind of just start us off and what your journey's kind of looked like.
I had to have like a giant cup of coffee before this just because if you guys know me, I run on caffeine. I don't know how Tiffany Klutz doesn't run on 10 cups.
I do. I have a cup in the morning of coffee.
Only one.
Only one. I know. The problem is you're healthier than I am. My cup of coffee consists of vanilla, some sugar, sometimes some half and half, some milk. So if I have more than a few cups of coffee, I'd rather a bowl of ice cream. Let's be real honest here.
And mine consists of a shot of vodka and 2 shots of espresso. So anyways, nobody knows what's in this cup. But so yeah, we're kind of very different, but very similar. And I think that that's what makes this podcast so special because we can kind of talk about motherhood from totally different angles. The coolest thing is, I don't know if you guys know, me and Tiffany are actually like really good friends. Like I think one of the first people I connected most with in the Cowboys organization was Tiffany Klutz. So, which is super cool for me because that's a different circle, you know? And a lot of the ladies are fantastic, but we really see eye to eye on a lot of things. And I think our core values are very similar. And so, but we lead totally different lives. And, you know, I think we'll kind of be able to get into that a little bit, but our journeys are very different. So, I
love that, don't you think? Because I think that I don't want to hang out with a bunch of people like me. So it would be really boring.
You know, I think that the thing that's special is because a lot of women can't really understand or maybe don't understand each other's circumstances and they look down upon each other for like being a working mom or not being a working mom or having 4 kids or having 1 kid, right? We're polar opposite in that. And so I think the one thing we've always obviously respected each other and respected those things. So
yes.
That's kind of huge in that. I mean, girls are not all nasty, but come on.
Let's be real.
Let's be real. There's a lot of judgment going on. So I just don't feel that with her. I think it's the Italian in us. We can't help but like be one big happy family. But journey of being a mom. I'll be honest. I don't think there was a point in my life where I ever felt like I want to be a mom. Like, I didn't ever feel, I was a babysitter often as a child. I was around kids all the time. I had lots of cousins, but I knew I wanted kids because that's like the thing you're supposed to do. So it's like the next natural step, but I didn't ever yearn for that, right? I was actually not really probably great with other people's kids because I never felt connected to them. And so, you know, when I met Darren, I think that all changed because I finally found like that person that actually, it clicked. Like, this is why I now want to have a child because I want to see that person in my child.
Yes.
And I want to make like a good human in this world with that person. And so my journey probably began when we got married, and instantly I wanted a baby. And it was like, okay, here, I checked the list and I'm ready. And I was probably, Darren won't admit this, but he was like, we could have a kid before we're married. It's so funny to me because the commitment of a man who wants to have a child, like that's, I think, a child is a lifelong thing, and marriage should be too, but having a child is a way bigger commitment to me than being married. Yeah. Personally.
Oh.
So Darren's like signing up, like, we can have a kid, like year 2 dating. Let's just have a kid now. I'm like, no, I'm going to check the list. I'm going to go through the stages.
Now, before, I know you said your journey started with getting married to Darren, but Darren already had kids. So being someone that hadn't had that desire yet, was that a scary feeling to walk into someone that already had that?
That's an awesome question. And absolutely not, because for me, it was probably the most special thing about Darren, and probably one of the biggest reasons I married him is because I saw him as a father. And I kind of feel like that's lucky insight, because a lot of women and their husbands have issues in their marriage with children, right? So I already knew, I'm like, man, he does their laundry, he's cooks their food, like, he's responsible for somebody else other than himself. Yeah. So that was a huge bonus for me. The kids for me are a bonus family, and we've always been really close. Jaden was the youngest, and like he was for me, an instant connection. He was so sweet, and I just felt like, okay, this is what family feels like, super early, because he was living at home and I saw him the most of the kids. Yeah. We've all grown super close over time, and I just think that's a blessing to be able to have a bigger family, and then my son gets to have siblings automatically, right? So that's pretty cool. And I think for women who think that marrying a guy with kids is baggage, of course there's like truth to that, but it focus on the positives. Like being a good dad is a really huge accomplishment.
Absolutely.
So, which you know about. But
yes, true. But okay, so you got the desire to have kids once you and Darren got married.
Yes.
And then was it an easy path?
No, it wasn't easy. We actually went through IVF, which was a really hard thing to go through. And I think probably most people know that about me. I'm very transparent, so I don't have problems talking about that. I'm like, yeah, we did IVF. Thank God for science, right?
Yes.
So we just couldn't conceive naturally. So we went directly to that stage, and which is super overwhelming, as like I was 27 at the time and always thinking, oh, we're just gonna have a kid, like no problem, so that was really challenging, but also such a blessing. And the IVF process itself is kind of daunting. The medications, the hormones, and
you're exhausted. It's scheduled. It's appointments after appointments.
It's a lot. It's something I was on board with 100% because it was going to give me a child, which it did. But definitely I feel for the moms that go through that, because that's, and I'm going to be honest. There's like, when they tell you, oh, you can't have a child, your mind just like starts to focus on so many other things, like, well, this mom got to have a kid and she didn't even want to have a kid. Yeah. Or that girl got pregnant and she is fine with like not keeping the baby. Or, so many things that go through your mind about like, how come I can't take the role? Can I take that off that woman's hands for her? Like,
or why do I have a desire if I can't have it?
Yeah. And, that was a really big struggle for me mentally that I had to overcome too, because just going through the process without like being hypersensitized about everything else going on around me. And like all my friends getting pregnant, having kids, thankfully, right? Super easy for them, for most of them. But we got pregnant once, we lost the baby. And it's interesting because, you know, you're sad, obviously, and it's the worst thing, and you spend all this time and energy, and then they tell you you're pregnant, you're so hopeful, and then you have a miscarriage, and that's obviously like a super hard thing to go through, which is probably a whole podcast in itself, right? Mm-hmm. But I think of it in a sense like people say like rainbow babies, right? Mm-hmm. But I just think Judea was like who God chose to be my kid.
Yeah.
Because if I hadn't had the miscarriage, then he wouldn't be my son.
I know. That's what I feel like. I have walked along so many friends who that is their story. And it's so hard to grasp the thought of losing your child. Like the moment they are in you, the moment you have conceived, that is your precious miracle.
Yeah.
And I think that the pain of that, and then you have another one, but that is the truth. And that is, I think, what is, to me, so beautiful about how God orchestrates our story is because Judea was part of your story. And that was, and if you would have had your first one, then you wouldn't have him. And that is like the hardest thing to swallow because you still are mourning the loss of a child.
Yes.
And you will always mourn the loss of a child.
Yes.
But you also are so grateful that you got Judea. So it's like finding that. And I also know your pregnancy was really hard.
Yep.
So that's, not easy either. Because it's like, okay, I've already been given a miscarriage. And then now, so it's just,
Yes. No, it's so true. And, you think about that after the child is born, like it's hard to not overcome the what ifs, right? Because you always think, oh, what if Judea would have been the first embryo that they transferred?
Oh gosh, I can't even think like that.
That's like the weird thing.
Yeah.
So there's a whole different process you go through in the IVF thing. I don't wish it upon anybody, but I do for all the moms that are so lucky to conceive children that way, right? So for me, the process was amazing and positive because of what came from it, right?
Yeah.
And our doctors were amazing. So if anybody needs recommendations, I'm like, shout out Dr. Barnett.
No, but really, because some people it's hard finding that match, kind of.
Dr. Barnett at Dallas IVF in Frisco, he hooked it up. So challenging for sure. Also, like, you don't care about the cost, you just want a child, So yes, my pregnancy was difficult because I actually contracted a virus when I was pregnant, and my entire pregnancy, they thought Judea could potentially be blind or deaf.
I still can't believe that.
It's
which
called,
is as far as like...
It's a basic virus. Everybody usually gets it in preschool. If you've been to school, you've probably had it. They say like some odd percentage of children or people in their 40s, like up to 70% of people have had it. It's called CMV, cytomegalovirus, right? So people should really... I after this happened to me, I'm like, I don't know how many people are aware of this, but I found that it's very few. And it's like the leading cause for blind and deaf children through, in utero, right? So firstborn, that's like the leading
I
cause
hadn't heard of it till you had shared it with me.
So, every other week we had scans, and, you go in and they're looking for cataracts to see if the baby's going to be blind, and,
Gosh. Like there's not enough worries already being pregnant,
Right. So very stressful, but I prayed a lot. And I had the most healthy pregnancy I could possibly have. I ate like very specifically geared towards brain development, eyesight, and anything I could read upon that felt like natural and beneficial, I would implement. And, when he was born, he could see, And they checked his eyesight. He was great. And then they did the hearing test, when you they come in and they do that hearing test. And, like, nobody's thinking about it in the room. And they just go through the process.
Yes, but for you it was.
I'm like, and even Darren, like, he's not paying attention, right? Like, just talking, doing his thing, whatever. And I'm just sitting there, like, holding my breath.
Yeah.
Like, just, those things happen, and it's part of life. And obviously it doesn't change how much I love my child, but you just start thinking so early on, what can I do for my child at this point for the rest of their life if they're going to have this disability, right?
Yes.
So his hearing is fine. Like, how amazing.
He's perfect.
I think sometimes we overdo our pregnancies almost, because you're stressed out the whole time. But
I do think with the twins, I was a high-risk pregnancy.
Oh, yeah, we should talk about that. So,
But I mean,
you've been
they
through
do.
that.
I do think that my opinion, I do feel like we're told a little too much because Sienna and Rocco both had. So Sienna had a spot in her heart and a spot on her brain, which is one of the number 1 to Down syndrome.
Yep.
And then Rocco had a spot on his brain. And so they had the talk with us this is the time to abort. This would be and honestly, it's still like, I'm like, you could tell me everything's wrong with my baby and nothing. And they're so healthy and they've been healthy since the moment. So I have such a hard time with that. I think that sometimes as a doctor, is it necessary that we need to know that early? There's already so many stresses as a parent that we have to deal with, and to just add that extra anxiety or worry, or when maybe let's talk about it 30 weeks if it's still there.
I know.
Because a lot of time those things go away, or even,
They do.
with your worries with that. So
They do. A lot of it does go away. And that's amazing that you've been pregnant 4 times. Well,
3.
All have been healthy, beautiful babies. But, okay, so I'm the mom that has, I'm like the little train that could to get this one, right? And you're chilling. So you're the mom that when I'm the mom that I'm like,
gosh darn it.
I have 1
know.
and she has 4. What the heck? Like, why, God? I'm a Tiffany also, hand it over.
But I don't think that's a bad, like my best friend at the time when we were going through, do we have a family? Do we not? They had tried for 7 years and they had to do, it was so hard to walk beside her. And she was so honest one time one of my pregnancies when I found out, and she goes, it's hard. It is hard. I'm so happy for you, but it is hard. And that is the true and raw of we're human, and that pain is going to come up. And I don't think that's a bad thing. And I don't think it's a bad thing to talk about, because it's better. Because I'm like, should I not tell her? And she said, please don't, but let me walk through what's hard for me too. And I think that's the beauty of friendship. That's the beauty of family. That's the beauty of life. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like I've always said, Tyler could sneeze on me and I get pregnant. And why is that like that for me? But then, and I think yet again, though, it's a part of our story. Like it's a part of your story that it's so beautifully orchestrated that it's awful and it's painful that you had to have a miscarriage first, but for Judea to be here and then we didn't plan. Our journey was different. Like we were only married a year and we got pregnant.
Tell me about that sneeze.
For sure a sneeze. I'm literally on birth control, just to be brutally honest. And we got pregnant with Giada. And I was not ready.
I was 24?
Yes, because I had her at 25. Yeah, I was running a business at that time, and I was not ready. We promised we were going to go at least 3 years. And I was like, what the heck? So frustrated. Tyler this is so great. And I'm just like, it's not. He was actually snowboarding, and I was at work, and I'm like trying to figure out how in the world and I think it was actually good that we weren't together when I was like, something's not right. Like, I think I've missed my,
physically together, but you were in a relationship.
Because I'm crying. Like this is just not a part of the plan,
Yeah, that's women. We're just planned. Right?
Yes,
Everything
for sure.
Is
And if we know nothing's planned, I've had to let that one go. But so anyway, so I had to kind of process, and So we got pregnant with Giada, and from there, our life changed. Like Tyler really wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom, and that was not a desire of mine at the time. And I loved working, and that was my passion. And I wasn't ready to set that aside. And then we had her, and my life changed forever.
Yeah.
And I tried to still go back to work, and I missed her. It was just this. And Tyler was playing at the time, and he's just like, I wish you would come with me. And I'm living in California. And
Oh, yeah.
so,
I mean, to the NFL moms that work or own a business, like, I don't think it's, and this is from an outsider's opinion, so you tell me, because me and Darren were married when he was playing, right?
yeah.
But, like, you don't really have the choice to be like, oh, I'm going to be a working mom. Like, you're an NFL mom, and you want to see your husband and keep your family together. It's almost impossible to work.
Yes, I think the ones I've seen do it so successfully, it has been a little bit easier when they're in one place. For Tyler and I, for our first 3 years of his career, he went from team to team.
Yeah.
So there wasn't that. And
even like if you are in one place, I mean, your husband is in a different city every other week in training camp. And I mean, how do you have, you don't, like Darren always told me it was like 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
You know, so you don't have that partner so much, and you
Yes.
feel like you want to give your kids a foundation.
Yep.
I mean, staying home was probably an obvious choice for you at the
Yes.
time.
Well, and we tried, like with Giada, you know, I stayed in California, and I was like, I can't do this. And so I broke all the rules, and in a week flew with her across Chicago. She's at a professional game at a week and a half old. It's snowing, and we're just going on with life. But again, that was part of our story. And I think that I am grateful that it happened the way that it did, because being a mom for me in this season has been the greatest gift. And I think that if I would have stayed working in that season, I wouldn't have gotten to experience Tyler's career. I wouldn't have gotten, we would have lived in different states. And so for us, Giada,
Weird?
it is,
So weird
it
to
is.
think
But
about.
to me, it was like Giada changed our life for the good. And why I question the Lord sometimes with his decisions, I did it with the twins too, is beyond me, because it always shows. And then having a child during football season was hard.
Yeah.
Because Tyler got there an hour before I had her, and then had to leave the next morning. And this is our first baby, and it was just hard. And so Luca, we actually tried to get pregnant in the off season, so we did. We were able to have him in the off season, which was so fun. But negative was Tyler experienced all the beauties of having right after a baby, you know, the waddle of the diaper and the, you know, the awful changing of things. He didn't see that with Giada. So
Yeah, that's
it was like, oh, so this is what happens, you know. He's like, what is that thing swishing around when you're walking out? I'm like, let me just tell you.
It's called Depends.
For sure.
Shout out to Depends.
I mean, really, could we survive without that?
No.
It's so awful. It's like they've got to come up with something better than that.
Oh my God.
The tights,
Darren-
you know, the clear tights that you put over your like stretched belly with this. Look,
Let's make a hot mom post-pregnancy line.
For sure.
We should. Postpartum
Really?
line. I know Darren like gives me the hardest time about that stuff. Like he still like pulls those jokes on me, and I'm just
so gross.
like, really, Darren? Because you carried a child. You know? You would have looked super hot in those diapers too. I mean, actually, he probably would look. They probably would look.
They would.
Hot
That's
in
what's
diapers.
frustrating. Yeah.
Damn it. They're just.
But then, so then the twins was a whole different ballgame for us, because we were done after 2. Tyler actually almost was going to get fixed. And then
So close.
So close. Poor guy. But Luca felt like our family was complete. We had a boy and a girl. It was everything we both wanted. They were both so happy. They were both great babies. Luca and Giada loved each other. I mean, it was perfect. It was 2 hands, 2 kids. Tyler's like, why would we change this? And I just had this itch. I really want 3. And my defense was, baby, nothing's going to change. Literally nothing's going to change. It's going to be perfect. And his chaplain was like, Tyler, you'll never regret having more kids. And so
So number 3.
Tyler said, Tiff, I really feel like we're complete. If you really have this desire, how about we won't prevent, but we're going to continue to pray about it. Like, we're not going to try, but let's just, next month we got pregnant with twins. Yeah.
Jeez.
I know, that's why it's just crazy. It's
what
crazy.
What is the feeling like when they tell you you have twins? Like, what is your...
Did you have let me ask you this. Did you have the desire? You know, some girls dream about having twins.
Well, so I had the option because I have 4 embryos and, you know, we lost one. We had Judea and I have 2 left, right? So hashtag, we'll see how that goes. But we had that option. And I think from my perspective, and this is just like for being kind of safe about it, I wanted to stick with one at a time. Just for like, you know, what if I put Judea in with the first child and I had a miscarriage, because I didn't have enough progesterone, so my body like didn't carry the baby. So, for that miscarriage, right? Okay. So if Judea was there too, you know?
Yeah.
And so, you know, you kind of think like, I think I made the right decision and I feel very confident in that decision.
Yeah. You feel confident now seeing our zoo running around all the time that you made the right decisions.
No, I just think but there is days where I'm like, man, I could have had 2 and just have done it. And they always say if you have twins first,
yes,
you don't know how hard it is. Mm-hmm. Which is probably true. You had twins second. So how much harder? Well, yeah, I mean, after having singles, right?
Yes, for sure.
So how was that compared to one?
So different. So literally when they told us, I'm crying and Tyler's laughing.
Of course, Tyler.
For sure. Because Tyler's yet again, he's so great with things that is the difference between him and I. I do not do well when things are not scheduled and planned.
With the flow,
and he just is like, it's always going to work out. It's going to be great. So I'm sitting there. She's like, well, let me make sure there's not 3. And I sat up, you know, when they already got that thing going on to figure out what's in there anyways. I'm like, I sit up and I'm like, there's not 3. And she's like, and I'm just crying. I'm just like, I'm not meant to have 3. I'm not meant to have twins. And Tyler's like, baby, it's going to be okay. So,
and you don't have twins in your family.
No.
But they're completely natural twins. And they're
completely natural twins.
They're not, well, obviously they're not.
They're boy, girl. So so they're not identical. They're fraternal.
Right?
So that was just a very different experience. I was definitely sick with Giada, very sick. But Luca, I wasn't. And then the twins was just like, oh my gosh, I've never had the TV on so much. I mean, it was just, I was so sick. And so trying to have 2 kids and then be pregnant and then we were high risk because then they came early and just having kids in the NICU. And it was just a whole different experience than I had had before. But I think that life without Rocco and Sienna would be kind of boring.
Oh my God. And let me tell you guys, so for the listeners, it was Judea's birthday 2 weeks ago, and it was Darren's right after that. But the Klutz always send us a video and say happy birthday, which it's could not be any cuter video. Like, it should be a commercial for some sort of cute family thing. I don't know. And Sienna is like this Spitfire, okay? Yes. She just bold. Like, you just see it in her, and she's tough and like super cute. She's probably going to be an issue for Tyler when she's older. But she, at the end of the birthday, they sing happy birthday, and Tiff's like, I hope you have the best day. And little Sienna, she sees in the back of the video, and she's like, happy birthday, bruh.
Just so serious. Like,
like, bruh, because she's just like, she's tough. She's with the rest of the siblings, you know? I mean, it's like the cutest thing ever. And I mean, I can't imagine your life without her and Rocco.
That's why it is crazy. And I do think, like, we always make jokes like, oh, the Klutzes are coming, you know, but
the Klutzes are coming.
I mean, really, though, it is. It's like, let's just bring the car, unload all the kids, all the chaos. But I wouldn't change it. Yeah. I was like, how are we going to do 4 kids? And the moment they came, it was like, hey, Lord, yet again, why did I question you? And Giada and Luca are so helpful. And I mean, Gia is like having a person there all the
She's
time.
like having a built-in babysitter.
Yes, and
Luca. And Whitney's not here today, Ben's wife, by the way. Sorry, Whitney, we miss you. But I watch Giada with Whitney's baby, Case. And it's, I mean, she is maternal as all get out.
I know.
It's insane. So, like, you know, thank God she was your firstborn.
I know.
So she could help you.
I know. And Luca has just the heart of a helper. Like, he just wants to help with everything. And, Mommy, do you need this? Let me take out the trash. So I think that it is helpful because Giada and Luca are so, you know, eager to help. But the twins they truly completed. We thought Luca completed the family, but the twins keep us rolling. Okay. Rolling all the time.
So maybe comparison. What's the pros and cons of 4 kids? And then I'll share my pros and cons of 1 kid.
It's messy. The cons will go first. It is hard. I'm
so, like,
not
keep your house clean.
So I struggle because I am a clean, I do well when things are organized, and I've had to let that go a little bit. I still prefer to have the house cleaned, and that's just kind of how I work better. I don't do well with messes everywhere. But when I say messy, there's always something going on. There's always something that happens.
Clustered.
Thank heavens for neighbors that are ER doctors, and every week we have an accident. Something's broken. Rocco the other day decided to not listen again to Mommy and wanted to grab the waffle off the 500-degree oven, and he grabbed the rack instead of the waffle. And so we've got burns, and there is never dull moment. It's messy. There's always something happening.
No downtime.
Yes. There's chaos. There's a lot of yelling on my end. I think for some reason that do a better job as a mom if I yell, and it only makes it worse, but I still do it. There is few times for mom and dad. I think that it makes us have to make it a point to, like, our kids go to Awana on Wednesday night, so that's Mommy and Daddy's date night.
Yeah.
And I try to ask of Tyler to make that a priority, and he has done a great job outside of this next Wednesday for the podcast.
Tyler.
But, you know, it's like we have to make us a priority. So there are definitely cons, but the pros outweigh the cons so much. And I think focusing, if I've learned anything from other moms, is don't always focus on the negative, or when the kids do something, remember that they're human and they're a toddler, or that there are going to be problems, but how are we going to grow from it? Or constantly apologizing. I've had to learn to apologize to my kids, which pridefully sometimes I don't want to do, but Mommy is so sorry that Mommy raised her voice again, and it's 8:00 in the morning, and
so early,
but I this year had the privilege, because of COVID, I've always majority been a stay-at-home mom, but for a couple years I worked 1 to 2 days a week to just kind of feel like a person again and get out, and because of COVID, the position that I did at work, I'm one-on-one right next to a patient. It just
it
wasn't
obsolete. Yes.
Yeah, so I felt that the Lord put on my heart that I needed to homeschool this year, which was so far from anything Tyler and I have ever desired. I mean, we are both not, I think homeschool is amazing, but for us, it's never been a part of something that we felt we should do.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to get to be at home and kind of pour into the kids what for Tyler and I is important in their everyday life. And it came with a lot of challenges this year, because I think mom was put to the last thing, but it also was a year that I would never take back.
Yeah.
So pros and cons of in hard times brings joy.
Yeah.
And focusing on the joy in those days. And if you are a stay-at-home mom, the days are tired. They are, how am I going to get everything done? But continue to encourage yourself that you get through it, and you get through it with your kids. And it's okay to stop and hide if it's hiding.
It's okay to lock yourself in the bathroom.
You know, or it's okay to tell them, I have literally said in the car, I just need it to be quiet.
Yeah.
Or I need 20 minutes to eat lunch by myself because mommy needs no one to ask me for something for 20 minutes. If that's me turning on a Netflix, to just whatever that looks like, give yourself grace. And I think there's so much pressure of that's not okay, or it's not okay to tell your kids, mommy's having a hard day.
Yeah.
And I just need you to,
back off.
kind of,
Yeah. Gianna, come on,
Yeah,
girl.
for sure.
Rope them up.
But as for you, if you don't know Tiffany, she runs a entire company, and an amazing company, and she is being a mom, a wife, and running a company. And trust me, I think being a stay-at-home mom can be easier because I can make time during the day to get those things done. Is when you are a working mom and a mom and a wife, you have to find that time. That stuff doesn't stop.
No.
So, maybe just like, what is life in that? I mean, it's just so different.
So having one kid it gives me the ability to do what I do and that I'm passionate about. I always say if I had two, I would probably have to stop working. But that's because the concept of a child now is not what it used to be. And it is so much more dedication than it used to be. Like the sports, the schooling, the expectations for the child at this point are so exhausting even for the child, right? So in order to do those things and do them well, I always feel like I've kind of changed that mindset because I actually think that comes down to just being better at coordinating your own time and picking your priorities. And I know like you had to pick priorities too in your life, right? With 4. So it's yourself or it's the child, or like you said, Tyler might not work out for the week because he's taking his son to baseball practice, right? So if you're okay with those priorities, you can have more, right? So I think that's always what it comes down to, is what your heart feels like is correct for you. But work is a lot. I have grown to accept, and please pick a good life partner, because I cannot tell you how important it is, because Darren doesn't care or isn't upset or doesn't nag at me or I guess throw shade in a sense of like I stopped cooking when I had Judea.
Yeah.
I like to cook. I used to cook all the time. Like, I think it's part of why he married me, because I could cook good lasagna, thanks to my mom. But, I knew, okay, wife, mom, business owner, something's going to have to give.
Yep.
And I feel that at times I'm a part-time mom, a part-time wife, and a part-time business owner. And it's just a constant week of like what needs more attention at the time. And there's fires on all ends, but I have to like take care of them equally, right? And of course, Judea always comes first.
Yep.
Like and I don't even care. Like nobody better say shit to me, because like if my kid is sick, I'm staying home. Like that's just, I'm going to work when I'm at home, but he's number one.
Yeah.
And that's where I know like, I don't think it's that hard to be a working mom as long as you have your priorities in line. And for some moms, that might not be the same as mine, but for me, it's
but also
my kid.
You shouldn't. I don't think it's fair that there is this stigma of like you can't do both. Like, why is it that women feel that they have to give up something they've worked their entire life for? Like, not everyone has the passion to stay at home or not has, and that's okay. I think that's, it's accepting that you have to do what works for you.
I have a lot of confidence because of my job. I have an income because of my job.
Yep.
And those are two things that are very important to me because God forbid something happened to Darren, I feel safe, right?
Yep.
So that's always on the back burner for me. So I guess that is a pro of being like a working mom, is security.
Yeah.
Darren is not my security. And for everybody that probably assumes that he is, he's absolutely not. So financially successful, great, sure. But I have my own success and my own nest egg, and I'm growing a fund for Judea, and I take care of the whole family. I try to. I have 4 kids. So, you know, Jaden is my baby too, and Miranda and DJ. And if they need something, like, I'm always willing to give them what they need too. Like, I get excited, to buy things for Jaden or see him succeed as well. And, you know, I feel like I kind of work to help them. You know, their mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, again, it was when Darren was playing football. And I think that was really amazing for them in their lives at that time. But how special is it that they get to see both sides of the spectrum?
Yep.
So like DJ, which a lot of you guys probably know from the podcast, but DJ, Miranda, and Jaden, hopefully there's benefits of both sides that they can get to see. And I think that's like a bonus, right? So definitely I think it's kind of cool to show them the potentials they have, and it's okay either way that they go.
Yeah.
And I know that if they need me, they know I'm always there for them, even with my job, you know? So for a while, it was my priority in the morning to take Jaden to school.
Yeah.
You know?
Which is great.
That's fine. You know, I'm fine with that. So
I think there's just so much pressure you had kind of touched on it a little bit earlier in the conversation, but there is so much pressure this day and age of how we raise our kids, the pressures of being a parent, all the things that your kids have to be involved in, the privates they have to go to be the best athlete, to be the best in school, to be the best mom. Are you taking them here? Are you doing this here? And guys, sometimes we forget that our parents raised us and we turned out fine. My mom had 4. I had a sister that had cancer. We were in and out of the hospital. Tyler's mom did an amazing job raising 5 kids, and we all turned out great. And we literally lived on hand-me-downs, and we never went to private. We never had private teachings of sports. And I mean, now none of us went to the NFL, or none of us went.
True.
But you know what? Like,
but don't you think that's like also the expectation? Like I was saying, the expectation
that's
is
what I
different
mean.
now,
and so
right?
it's hard. It's like, listen, if you have the opportunity to work, if you have the opportunity to stay at home, if you have the opportunity to raise your kids the way that you feel God has shown you, or maybe faith isn't important to you and you're doing the way your parents did it, or whatever it is that stirs in you, anything, you are the parent.
Yeah.
And like, it is so hard in this day and age to constantly see what so-and-so's doing and what so-and-so, and well, I have to do this. I've got to play catch up to this. And it's like, live your life. Like, be who you want to be. And that is okay. If you and Darren, that's what your calling is, do that and ask for love around you and support. And if Tyler and I feel led to be the parents, then do it. And like, let the noise go.
I know. That's the biggest thing. It's like, so there's probably days that I'm like, oh, God, I just like want to stay at home and be a mom because I feel so guilty. But he doesn't know the difference.
No.
Like, I'm still there for him for everything he needs. But there's those days, right?
Yeah.
And it probably goes both ways. And like, you're probably like, it would
maybe
be
if
nice
I worked, I
like,
wouldn't yell 5 times before 8 o'clock. You know, it's just, you never know.
For me, you know, I remember when Judea was little and then the pandemic happened too, when he was turning 4, so 3 to 4. And we were at that stage where he was like, he's potty trained, but wasn't great at it himself. Mm-hmm. And I was doing 10 Zoom calls a day. Okay. And I'm like, I just want to pee or take a break from this Zoom call by myself.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, no, I'm going back to the office. Like, as soon as I can open this office again, I'm like, and I always look at that and like respect the moms that don't work, because I'm like, that shit is hard. People think that's like so glamorous. And I'm like, I think that's harder, because my like, calm down time is like when I'm like driving to the office by myself and having my third cup of coffee and getting to the office and getting the lowdown from my team and like like, you know, I worry about Judea and because I'm not with him and I worry, but those fears kind of melt away when you like get into the groove of your day. And then I'm so excited to see him at the end of the day. So for me, it works, but you do always feel guilty.
You do.
You know?
But I think like it is so, and it's such a good wrap up because I think like it's a perfect example of our friendship. Like, and even Whitney, gosh, I wish so bad she was here. Like Tiffany said earlier.
Well, we would do like a 3-hour podcast if Whitney was
But you know,
here.
we are all so different. I mean, really, same with Ben, Tyler, and Darren. Like we are all so different, but we so beautifully support and love each other through all of our differences. And I think like moms, let's take the step to love each other and support each other as we are instead of constantly trying to fix. And it would just be so much easier.
If all the moms could just, by the way, I will never forget Tiffany. This is how much she loves being a mom. We talked about like the struggles of having a child, and this is a person, and I actually have 2 friends that said this, but she literally, and Darren would never let me because he would probably strangle Tyler or Tiffany or me or one of us, but
gosh,
she
I know what you're
literally,
gonna share.
she said, I'd be a surrogate for you to have another kid. And I would personally, I don't think I could ever be somebody like that selfless, but I'm like, that's why you have 4 kids because you are literally made to be that person and like the most selfless, amazing heart. And like, I have another friend that like has always said that to me too. And it's just, it's so awesome to have mom friends that are like respect each other and get each other and understand those things. I love you, but I don't think I would carry a baby for you. But maybe if I had to. But
No. But again, I just think like, you know, I can't imagine being someone who desired something and I couldn't have it. And so if there are people that have can do that, then do it for each other. But yeah, I just loved getting to do this with you today, and happy Mother's Day to all the mamas out there. Don't be so hard on yourself. Give each other grace and you'll get through it. And
do you want to end on like a short, funny story?
yes.
Okay. Podcast interview with this huge firm in London. Zoom interview with a huge firm in London. And I'm interviewing for this ginormous project in Austin. I'm home alone, and Judea has to go to the bathroom.
Oh gosh.
I mean, these people are on the phone with me from New York and London.
And is he like saying it out loud? Like, Mom,
I
gotta go poop?
Mom, no, he's in the potty. Mom, come wipe me. Come wipe me. Mom, why aren't you listening to me? And I'm like, and I know they can hear it.
Get up.
I'm like, I'm trying to mute it. I'm like trying to mute it. Also, I only have like the work on the top and pajamas on the bottom. So I'm like, I can't stand up. And they can hear him, and I'm trying to talk over it. And finally I said, I'm so sorry, but my son is in the bathroom and I have to help him. And like,
oh my gosh.
I left, I helped him, and I was like, get your ass over there. You know? I sat back down, I finished the interview, and I got 2 emails from one of the people in another country and another person, a big person in New York. And they both said, that's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. And as a working mom and working dad,
Aww.
I feel like you and I would make great teammates. Like, and I got positive reinforcement from that. But yeah,
see, wasn't that a good feeling?
it's a great feeling. But I will never forget the day Judea asked me to wipe his butt.
But at least he just asked you. I feel like my kids love to explain. It's a messy one. And I'm like, so then if Tyler's home, like, it's like, oh, who has to do that one?
Who has to do it?
You know, so I am grateful that it was just like,
can we have a whole podcast on poop stories?
Oh, it would be so bad.
It would be so bad.
So bad.
All the moms with the poop stories, you're not alone.
You are not alone. You are seriously not alone. But anyways.
All right.
Love you, girl.
Love you too.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.